Okay. Bring our metta.
Right.
Okay, let us begin with the metta meditation. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother owns life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Okay, with this very wholesome thought in mind, let us begin our practice. As usual, we pay attention to our breathing, exclusive attention, without using any words, without going to the past or future. Simply focus the mind on your breathing. As you breathe in, you notice the breath touching the rims of your nostrils, and then you experience the expansion of your lung area and the expansion of your lower abdominal area. As you breathe out, lower abdominal area and the chest contract, and you notice the breath leaving your nostrils. As you keep breathing like this, you notice there is a very brief pause between inhaling and exhaling, which also is very normal, natural, even though it happens just like breath as we breathe in and out. That gap also occurs, but until we pay attention, we don't notice it. Even when we pay attention to it, we should not try to manipulate it, expand it, or play with it, but just let it happen as it does happen naturally. And then you will notice the breath, the feeling of your breath, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness, they also change as we breathe in and out. Notice all the feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness change as you breathe in. When you breathe out, you don't have the same feeling, perception, and so on. You experience the feeling of contracting the lower abdomen, chest, and leaving the breath. There also you feel. This feeling is not the same as you had when you were breathing in. So this perception, thought, volition, and consciousness change always along with the change of breath, inhaling and exhaling. You don't have to say anything in words, Just notice, pay mindful attention, which means attention without greed, hatred, or delusion. As you simply pay attention to these experiences, your breath becomes calm, relaxed, and peaceful because there is nothing to excite, and the body becomes calm, relaxed, and peaceful. The mind becomes calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Of course, all these don't happen at once. It takes some time. As they relax, our mind let go of whatever greed or desire arises in the mind. Let it go. We don't hold on to it. And then we become even more relaxed. Then there is no tension, anxiety, or rigidity, uptightness, or anger. That also fades away. Then arises a moment of feeling of metta. Relaxed state of mind can grow metta. And then we also know that there are so many suffering beings. We practice this meditation starting from the middle of March, keeping those suffering beings in mind out of compassion. And compassion takes some feeling in our mind. We feel compassion, in other words. Then resentment is no longer there. Then restlessness and worry fade away. Seeing this result, the mind becomes more relaxed and joy arises. Then restlessness and worry fade away. Then, as we become more active, more enthusiastic in the practice, our sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. Seeing all this gradually happening, our doubt fade away. So when these what we call hindrances, when they fade away, further joy, pleasure, happiness arise, resulting in gaining concentration. When we gain concentration, that also is clean and pure without hindrances, then this concentration we can use to reflect upon our form, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness, which always change. We notice these changes as more clearly and in the most subtle way, without words, concepts, ideas. This natural phenomenon takes place all the time. Rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling, and nothing stays fixed. Everything is moving. So we stay noticing this to see the reality as it is. dukkha patta ca nidukkha, bhaya patta ca nibhaya, soka patta ca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With these metta thoughts, let us continue our talk on craving that I started yesterday. For craving, there are many words in Pali. Some of them, some people come across, and not one person come across all the words. There are some of them are like tanha, raga, lobha, abhijja, sineha, piya, rati, kama, chanda, nati, and these are few of those many words for the same thing, tanha, craving. I mentioned the day before yesterday in my talk, when this craving arises, Buddha said, because when does it arise? When it settles down, when does it settle? Where does it settle? Whatever in the world has a pleasant and agreeable nature, it is there that this craving arises when it arises. This craving arises when it arises. It is here that it settles down. And what in the world has a pleasant and agreeable nature? I said there are 60 places where craving arises when it arises and settle down when it settles down. Now, I'm very sure you are very curious and anxiously waiting to hear these 60 places. When I mention 1 or 10, then you can immediately guess what will come after that. The eye has pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. It is here the craving arises when it arises. It is here that it settles when it settles down. When I mention eye, you know what else I'm going to mention. Ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. How many we have? 6. So the craving arises in these 6 places. That means in 6 senses. Because senses are agreeable and pleasant. Eyes are agreeable and pleasant. Ears are agreeable and pleasant. Nose, tongue, body, and mind are agreeable and pleasant. Nobody's eyes are disagreeable. Ears disagreeable. All of them are agreeable and pleasant, because we get a lot of information through this, especially likable, pleasant things. Then one might ask, what about unlikable, unpleasant? Yes, they too arise, these six senses. When they arise, then why the Buddha picked on only the only the craving? Why didn't he mention why did he mention pleasantness and agreeableness? Because when disagreeable there is disagreeable, no craving arises there. But we remember when we have pleasantness in the eyes, ears, nose, and so forth. When unpleasantness arises, we don't want it. We want to reject it. And we want to go back to pleasant and agreeable nature. So you cannot escape from seeing or from seeing arising craving through your eyes, which is pleasant and agreeable. Similarly, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. This is one. These are the six places where craving arises. So, out of 60, now you have six places. Then, what about the sound, the forms, sounds, orders, taste, tactical, tactile, tactile objects, and mental phenomenon? They also are pleasant and agreeable. Forms are pleasant and agreeable. Naturally, craving arises there. Sound is pleasant and agreeable. Craving arises. Taste, agreeable and pleasant. Craving arises. Tactile object, pleasant and agreeable. Craving arises. And the mental formations are pleasant and agreeable. Uh, Craving arises there. And we reject unpleasantness in form, sound, and so on. Buddha is talking about the where craving arises and settles down. Now we have 12. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Sound, smell, taste, touch, and smell, touch and tactile objects and mental objects. Now we have 12. And then what next? Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, mind conscious, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. Another 12. Now we have 18 where craving arises. And then contact, eye contact, ear contact, eye contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact are pleasant and agreeable. Craving arises there. Then, how many? Now we have 12, 24, right? 6 times 4. And then feeling born of eye contact, feeling born of ear contact, feeling born of nose contact, feeling born on tongue contact, feeling born on body contact, and feeling born of mind contact. Craving arises there and settles down because they are pleasant. Then we have 6, 24, 6, 30, right? 30. In 30 places now we have 30 places open in this body for craving to arise and settle down. And perception of forms, perceptions of sound, perception of smell, perception of taste, perception of tangible, perception of mind object or phenomenon. Now, 36 places. And when perception arises, we begin to think. That is called volition. So, volition regarding forms, volition regarding sound, volition regarding smell, volition regarding taste, volition regarding tangible objects, volition regarding mind objects are pleasant and agreeable, their craving arises. Now, how many? 30, 36, 42. 42. Now there are 18 more. And then craving for forms, craving for sound, craving for order, craving for taste, craving for tactile objects, craving for mental phenomena or mind objects. Now, this is very interesting. Craving arises from craving. We say craving arises because the craving is pleasant to people. Craving is likable. So they like craving. And more craving arises. So, 48, uh,
Yeah.
huh? Huh?
Yeah.
48. And then thought of form. Now, when form craving arises, we begin to think even more of craving objects. Because it is pleasant, we begin to think what to eat, what to see, what to hear, and so forth. There we have selection, so many things we see, so many things we hear, and so many smells, taste, touch, and mind objects. There are so many open to us in the world. And therefore, thought of forms, thought of sound, thought of smell, thought of taste, thought of tangible objects, and thought of mental objects. They are pleasant and agreeable to us, and we think about it. We don't think only once, but we repeat it again and again. That's called examination of forms, vichar in Pali, vichar. So, examination of sound, examination of orders, examination of taste, examination of tangible objects, examination of mental objects. Now, we have 60 places. I don't know whether you remember all this. It is very easy to remember the 60 places where these 60 places are pleasant, agreeable, their craving rises. it is very easy for us to, if we remember, uh, if we take Pali words, it is very easy to remember. Chakku sota gana jiva kaya mana and Rupa Saddha Gandha Rasa is Potthapa Dhamma. Chakku Viññāna, Sota Viññāna, Gana Viññāna, Jiva Viññāna, Kaya Viññāna, Mano Viññāna. Chakku Sampasa, Sota Sampasa, Gana Sampasa, Jiva Sampasa, Kaya Sampasa, Mano Sampasa. Then Rupa Sanya, Saddha Sanya, Gandha Sanya, Rasa Sanya, Potthapa Sanya, Dhamma Sanya. Then Rupa Sanchetana, Saddha Sanchetana, Gandha Sanchetana, Rasa Sanchetana, Potthapa Sanchetana, Dhamma Sanchetana, and Rupa Tanna, Saddha Tanna, Gandha Tanna, Rasa Tanna, Potthapa Tanna, Dhamma Tanna, Rupa Vitaka, Saddha Vitaka, Gandha Vitaka, Rasa Vitaka, Potthapa Vitaka, Dhamma Vitaka, and Rupa Vichara, Saddha Vichara, Gandha Vichara, Rasa Vichara, Potthapa Vichara, Dhamma Vichara, and so forth. If you remember this series, you will remember the 60 places where craving arises. If you cannot remember them now, I suggest you to read Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the long discourses on the four foundations of mindfulness, which you can find in Digha Nikaya. Or another solution, easy one, Digha Nikaya is a very big book. You go, there is a Suttas for Recital book. Wisdom Publication published that book. Suttas for daily recitation. Suttas for daily recitation. In that you can see all these 60 are listed. Now, if there is no craving, this whole mass of suffering would not appear because of the craving. It arises. Not only we like something, but that something create our lingering, it becomes the force of lingering in samsara. So Buddha said that if Ananda, there were no karma ripening in the sensory realm, would sensory experiences be discerned? Now, these are 60 places where craving arises. If this sensory world does not exist, can these sensory experiences be discerned? Sensory discerned? The Venerable Ananda replied, no, Venerable Sir. Thus Ananda, for beings hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. Craving is a fetter. Ignorance is a hindrance. Most of the time we hear ignorance, hindrance is, ignorance is, ignorance also is a cause of suffering. But ignorance blocks our view, our understanding, and therefore craving take the leadership, and it fetters. We talk about this sometimes later. How craving becomes a fetter. How craving becomes a fetter. And hindrance becomes a ignorance becomes a hindrance. Now, ignorance is not mentioned as among the five hindrances, but craving arises. But here, ignorance is a hindrance, craving is a fetter. Naturally, both are fetters. Ignorance is a fetter, hindrance is a fetter. But here Buddha said, hindrance is a fetter, ignorance is a hindrance. So, how ignorance then, if Ananda, for beings hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, karma is the field, consciousness the seed, and craving the moisture for their consciousness to be established in an inferior realm. In this way, there is the production of renewed existence in the future. Now, when these join together, the consciousness is the seed, Vijnanam Bijam, karma is the field, ignorance, what you call craving, is the moisture. When these three exist, then renewal existence of in future takes place. If there were no karma ripening in the form of realm, would form their existence, form sphere existence be discerned. Form sphere does not exist for us to understand if this karma is not there. Then the Buddha said, thus Ananda, four beings hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, karma is the field, consciousness the seed, and craving the moisture for their consciousness to be established in a middle realm. In this way, there is the production of renewed existence in future. Now, the last is, if Ananda, there were no karma ripening in the form of realms, formless realms, would formless sphere existence be released? Now, for the, is it Kama Bhava, Rupa Bhava, Arupa Bhava? These are the three that explain in this. If there is no karma, there is no Kama Bhava. Kama Bhava means the realm where sensual pleasures can be experienced, because there are 6 senses. Rupa Bhava means the fine material form existence, and if karma is not there, consciousness is there, not there, craving is not there, fine material form does not exist. Also, if karma is not there, craving is not there, consciousness is not there, then immaterial form does not exist, because their existence, karma, ignorance, and craving, consciousness exist, these places will exist. Now, I say karma is the what you call craving is the sanyojan. Sanyojan means joining together. Two things join together. Craving joins together. We remember craving also is called moisture. In the four elements, apo dhatu, moisture, is the thing that bind things together, like uh, dry cement and dry sand don't bind together if you don't put water. So the water has this binding nature, and therefore whatever terms you use for water, whether H2O or in science lab you might use H2O, uh, two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, come together called water. But this element, this property must exist in water, and therefore that water can bind two things. Moisture, what you call craving, is like that. And there was a very beautiful discourse. I don't have time to explain all of them, but I try to start it today. Perhaps I can. I try to finish it later. That in Sutta uh, Buddha recited very meaningful, profound stanza, and there were monks who listened to it, and after their uh, meal, noon meal, they assembled in the assembly hall. When they assembled in the assembly hall, they had discussion. And for this discussion, because that is normally monks do, as Buddha advised monks and nuns to do, when they assemble, they can do two things. That is, Sannipatthana bhikkhave dvayam karaniyam dhammiva kata ariyova tunni bhavo. Two things. Either discuss Dhamma or observe noble silence when they assemble. Don't gossip. Don't talk about politics, economics. So monks and nuns are not supposed to do that. They are supposed to discuss Dhamma. If there is no topic for them to discuss Dhamma, observe silence, and in silence they keep meditating. So when these monks assembled in this hall after meal, they brought this stanza. It is in Pali. I try to avoid Pali because most people don't know that. But the English translation of the stanza is this: having understood both ends, the wise one does not stick in the middle, does not stick in the middle. I call him a great man. He has here transcended the seamstress, transcended the seamstress. This is the stanza. Having understood both ends, the wise one does not stick in the middle. Understand both ends but does not stick in the middle. Buddha said, I call him who has transcended the seamstress. So therefore, the seamstress is the one that joins two things together. Two things together. Just like we all know what the seamstress do. She would, or she or he, in this case it should be she because the word tanna is feminine gender, not masculine. So Buddha used it to use feminine gender, seamstress. So what she does, or the seamstress does, take two ends of a cloth or two pieces of cloth and sew it. When she sews, she joins these together. That's what she is called. That's what the seamstress does. And Buddha said the 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 one who knows both ends does not stick to the middle and bypass the seamstress. This is the stanza. Unfortunately, I don't have time to explain this stanza. I explain it in my next talk. Uh, Normally, when something very profound or coming to the peak, I don't want to spoil it by telling only little bit and stop. I want to explain the whole thing in my next talk. So come for the next talk and I will explain it. For now, we have meditated for on metta, mindfulness, keeping in mind our purpose. Purpose is those suffering beings suffering from COVID-19, and we want to wish them to be free from that suffering. And also, I have repeated several times already that there are people grieving over their loved ones all over the world. We want to wish them to be free from grief and return to their normal life, understanding Dhamma. And there are beings who are trying to help these suffering beings, not only us. There are many individuals, groups, organizations trying to share metta, even some pray, and they all with very wonderful intention do this, all these things in according to their traditions, and they have one single thing in common. We all have, that is compassion for living all suffering beings. May they continue their wonderful work. At the same time, there are others who are doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs trying to help these people, and we want to wish them to be very compassionate, continue their wonderful, noble, selfless service. Others who are trying to find a vaccine, let them be successful and come up with a solution as quickly as we need. And there are others who are financially supporting them and let them be very generous and compassionate, kind. And other leaders in the world, in many countries, many good leaders are trying to overcome this COVID. Some people have done very successfully, and some leaders, we have heard some countries, they stop it spreading, and now they are recovering, the whole nation. Similarly, I want to, we all wish together that other leaders who have not made wise decisions, may they be wise to make wise decision. May they be compassionate to make compassionate decision. May they understand, far-sighted, to make right decision for the benefit of all this. And with this very wholesome wish, I want to end this morning session and hope you all join me, and I'm very grateful to you all for joining us in this very wonderful wish, and hope to see you tomorrow.